Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Adrian Mintz, and I'll be providing the training today. The topic of today's presentation of training is going to be on the instant module. And please tell me if my volume is too high or too low, and I'll try to adjust appropriately. I don't normally do a lot of the trainings, so it's handled by other people. So this is kind of fun for me. I've been doing training for a while. Okay. So again, my name is Adrian Mintz. I'm the co-founder and chief operations officer here at Emergency Reporting. And my department is NFIRS up here in Washington State. Emergency Reporting is based in Washington State, way up north of Seattle, almost to the Canadian border. So right now it's raining and cold outside, and that's where we're at. And my department is a little department, two-station department, combination, about 1,500 calls a year, 1,600 calls a year, just outside of Bellingham, Washington. Of course, you've always been a customer since 2003, surprise, surprise. And I myself started the company with Dave Adams back in 2003. So been active in the fire service for just over 20 years now, and still active today. So right off the bat, before we get into our training, we want to briefly review some of the other training opportunities we have for emergency reporting. We have a lot of training online, of course, but we also do some other outside trainings that you might be interested in. We have an on-site training option where you can travel. We can travel to your site and provide customized training there at your department. And this is a good option for agencies that maybe want to train a bunch of people at one shot. And so it can be cost effective if you have maybe a dozen people you want to get trained. We also do regional workshops. This is useful if you wanted to maybe travel into a site and send maybe one or two representatives from your department. These are nice because they're scattered geographically around the country. So we'll show where these are coming up in just a few minutes. And so you can keep an eye out for that and maybe attend those trainings. And we also do a virtual training like we're doing today. However, the virtual Thursday is designed for everyone to dial in and partake in. But we can also do a separate customized virtual training just for your agency online. And that's useful if you want to, maybe you want some customization, but you don't want to deal with the added expense and logistics of bringing in a trainer for several days. So all of these options are available. And if you would like to learn more, you can email Casey down at the bottom here as our email address, casey@emergencyreporting.com. And she can take care of you. Hold on just one moment. I see some of the people said that there's an echo. Let me see if I can square that away. Hold on. Okay, so I'm back now. There shouldn't be much of an echo, but there's no other speakers in the office where I'm at, so I'm not sure what the story is. I did change the boom mic just a little bit, so maybe that'll sound better. Okay, so we're going to proceed on. So again, if you have any interest in the training, email Casey at Emergency Reporting, and she can fill you in on the options for some of these. All right, now, next one is here's some trainings we have coming up. These are regional workshops where people can travel in and attend for a small fee. So this first one's in Leland Fire Rescue in Leland, North Carolina in February 2014. And all of these still have openings, by the way. So if you are interested in attending, and we put it up here, please be sure to get a hold of us so we can talk about attending the training. So Leland in North Carolina in 2014, February. Another one is South Greenville Fire District in South Carolina, November, so just a few weeks away. And next one is actually up in our state, South Bay Fire Department outside of Olympia, January 21 to the 23rd, 2014. So that's good for up here in Washington State. We also have Avondale Fire in Glendale, January 6th to the 8th, 2014. Out there in the sun. Pretty good there in January. And so if any of those are interested in learning more about any of those, please contact Casey at Emergency Reporting and she can fill you in. We also have some on-site training. Cumberland, Maine has been postponed. That was previously scheduled, but we're still going to do it. Just currently the date is up in the air. And Anniston Fire Department in Alabama, December 11th to the 13th. So lots of good training opportunities, which anyone can participate in. Excuse me, one more thing. So, like I said, I don't normally do a lot of these trainings, but so I'm sorry for stumbling around just a little bit, but we're going to do a quick little training poll to find out if anyone's interested in doing the trainings. So if we could, I'll set the poll up here. Okay, so please, if you could on your screen select one of these options and select if you're interested in any kind of training and let us know. And then we'll move on in just a moment. Terrific. About halfway there, another about 10 or 15 seconds. Okay, wonderful. Thank you everyone for voting. And I'm going to share this. There we go. There's the results. So you can see previous spread of people looking for training. So that's helpful. That sort of thing really helps us, folks. All right, great. So we're going to move on then. Okay, next one, feedback page. So before we get into the training of the incident module, I want to make everyone clear, make everyone aware of this great tool we have called feedback.emergencyreporting.com. So this is online right now, and this page shows the different things that we are working on and the votes that you can vote on as a community. So when you go to feedback.emergencyreporting.com, there's an option right here. I'm circling it on the screen. This is a quick summary of the things that we're considering, and you can vote on these different options here, and you can also see what's been completed in the recent past. So this is really important because this helps us in the evolution of the product, and we can base it on, instead of trying to guess what people want, we can base it on what people are voting on. So this is quite powerful, so please keep this in mind. We also have a large amount of knowledge-based information on the right-hand side. There's a lot of information here. There's walkthroughs, step-by-step instructional guides. There's some videos, and you can also start support tickets to the same spot. So the feedback page is quite important if you can do that. Also, I'm going to ask a real quick little question on the feedback page, and then we're going to get into the rest of our training in just a moment. So this one is a quick poll on the feedback page if anyone is already using it. This is important for us to know because we're trying to get as many people to use this, and we're finding it's not as used as widely as we would want. So if you spend a few 20 or 30 seconds, and then we'll move on. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you. We're going to close the poll here, and I'll share it in just a moment. Got one more person's going to vote. And okay, I'm going to close. And so here's the results. So a whole bunch of people, majority 58% had previously used it. That's great. And only a handful, 11% are not even aware of it. Okay, good. That's important. So it shows we're getting pretty close. Terrific. Okay, so we're going to move on then. Here is a quick, brief summary of the customers who have come on just in the last week. And there's a lot of them. I was pretty astonished when I did the count. So I'm actually not going to butcher the names here because there's so many of them, but you see customers all over the place from Louisiana, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Washington, New Jersey, Ohio, Tennessee, Arizona, Texas, and Ohio. A lot of people came on. And Georgia, Indiana, California, Alabama, and Massachusetts, and Georgia again. So thank you all for coming on board. Oh, excuse me, another page, sorry. Indiana, Vermont, Pennsylvania, and Washington. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for participating in our training. All right, so today's going to be on the incident module. So here is the key objectives. We're going to review the main incident page and the various modules in the incident module. So the basic structure, wildland, casualty pages, and hazmat pages. And we'll also talk about some of the other components of the incident module, the narrative page, completing a review and call, generating a print page, uploading files, and how to, the very, very important one, how to export NFIRS data to the state or to FEMA. And so we're going to get started in training. Last poll real quick, in order to gauge the experience level of the people in the room, I'd like to do a quick poll of how long you've been using the incident module. So that way I know if we're looking at entry-level questions or medium or more advanced questions. So you take a few seconds to answering this. Okay, thank you everyone for voting. We give you just another 5 or 6 seconds, and we'll share the results, and we'll move on. Okay, so this shows, as you can see, an even mix of, we have some newbies, and we have some people that are a little more experienced in the 1 to 2 year range. So we're going to try to cover our bases, I'm going to go through some basic review of how the module works. And I'll try to touch on some additional advanced features for those who've been using it for a little while to try to benefit, get some benefit for you folks. Thank you for voting, that helps. Okay, great. So, the next page is going to be on the web browser, so okay, so this is the main incident page in a dedicated demo account. It is identical to your system, of course, except this is a demo account that I can muck with and break things and, of course, not impact a real-life customer. The orange background you see on the right-hand side is just an artifact of us testing here in the office. We use this orange background as a reminder to us that if we are in a live, actual customer account instead of a test account, not to break anything. So just ignore the orange. That's a background thing for us. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to click on the incident module on the left-hand side, very top, incidents. And also for information, I am logged in currently as an administrator. And if you are a submitter level of access, you have less access than what I see. However, it's still good to illustrate how the module works. This page, we call this the main incident page. It displays all the incidents that are open on the account at the time. It includes just some basic information about the incident, such as the incident type. Let's see if I can. Incident type. We have the address. We have the date, the time, the station, the incident number, and the patient count in the main grid view. On the right-hand side is a series of padlocks. It will change color, which I'll demonstrate here in just a little bit. The lowest level incident is displayed as a red unlocked padlock. Complete level is a yellow padlock, and the top level review is a green closed padlock. That's what we see here. So we're going to get started with a new incident from scratch, assuming no CAD interface and assuming no data has been entered. We're just going to start from scratch. So to do that, we click, that's what I'm looking for right here. To start a new incident, we go up here on click the new button. And I'll get it started. Great. Right. Okay, so the very first page requests some information about the incident to set it up. And this is important because we don't know what sort of incident we're doing yet. So this first page is pretty plain, pretty generic, just to collect more information. Text that is in black is optional. Text that is in red is required. In many cases, you can leave required fields not completed, but in this one case, you have to complete them all. And if you later on in the program, if you leave a required field blank, the system will prompt you to come back and do it. But in this case, you really got to do them all in order to get started. So I'm going to do my shift or platoon. I'm going to say I'm A shift. And on the date, now I can type in the date manually, or a CAD link can fill it in for me. But if you're doing the incident report just after you came back from the call, you can click these little hyperlinks right here. Excuse me, sorry. You click these hyperlinks right there, today or yesterday, and that will automatically fill in today's date or yesterday's date for you, and that adds, makes data entry go faster. Again, you might know your incident number already. Otherwise, you click Next Incident ID, and that'll generate the next number for you. Now, the next one is very important. It's called the incident type. The incident type is a list of the NFIRS incident types for your account. It may also be your EMS incident type if you have an EMS-only account. In this case, it's a fire EMS account, but both combined, so the incident type is listed here. Now, if you know it, you can just type it in, such as I just typed in 321. However, a lot of times you won't know what those are. So that's what the list box is here to the right. You click the list box, you'll see a box that pops up, and this is all the appropriate NFIRS approved values for your call. Now, one of the things you may not know is you look at this big long list, and it's kind of overwhelming. So there's a couple quick things. The very top is a subcategory heading, so you can break out what you have right here. This is the types of incidents you can break out and go down from there. However, if you go further down, if you click on it, like service call, it'll take you further down the page. And now you can see the 500 series, service call, has a series of different types of calls. One more thing I want to highlight. On this page, in all web browsers, if you hit Control F, you'll do a search in the page. So maybe you're looking for a type of call. Maybe you stumble around, you can't find it. So let's say it's garbage. And you can just type in garbage. And if you look down here now, excuse me, I'll highlight it so you can see it. Garbage has been highlighted. It's maybe hard to see on the presentation, but garbage has been highlighted by the web browser. So this is a real quick, easy way to find additional words that maybe it's really hard to classify. You have this goofy type of call. And so that's very helpful sometimes to do is do a Control F and search on that. Okay, so I'm going to select my incident type as an EMS call. So I'm going to click Rescue and Emergency Medical Services Incident. Here we go. I'm going to say 321. I click the hyperlink. The box closes and then the value is returned in the box. I'm going to hit Next to move on. Now, what happens here is we have a series of icons on the top which show the types of fields that are required up here for the incident type as per the NFIRS and or Nemesis requirement. Underneath each of the boxes, there's a red light, green light navigation bar. We call this red light, green light. So you can see which fields have been, which pages have been completed and which pages still have to be done. So in this case, I'm on page basic 2. And so if you notice underneath the basic page, there's 5 icons, 5 little red light, green light boxes. And I'll tell you that we are on basic 2, and that is the second box from the left. So we're green right now. This page is green. We're on basic 2. It's been completed successfully. All required fields have been completed, hence basic 2 is green. Now if I hit next to move on to the next page, now I'm on page basic 3. Notice the third box underneath the basic icon is red, and here we are on basic 3. We have a series of fields that are red that have not been completed. So I'm going to fill those out. So I'm going to say street address. I'm going to say 851 Coho, and I'm going to go Coho Way. That's where we're at. Suite number 301. City, Bellingham. If I can type, Bellingham, Washington, 98225. Now, I'm going to skip city code, county code just for a moment. I'm going to go down here and do zones. These are the zones that we have set up for this agency. So I'm going to say I'm at Station 2's area. Property use. Now, let's just say I know what my property use is. So I'm going to say it's a 429. And my population density is, let's say it's going to be urban. So now I've completed most of the required fields on this page. I've left city code, county code blank. I'm going to hit save on this page. Now, a couple things happen. One, if you look up at the very top under basic 3, it's still red, but that fits because city code, county code has not yet been completed. Also, I want to point out on the bottom, property use. I just typed in the number 429, multifamily dwelling, because I knew it. And the system confirmed, validated it, and returned it as multifamily dwelling. So, the common ones, 400 series of residential, 419 is single-family residence, 429 is multifamily residence, 900s, I think 961 is a street and highway for like motor vehicle accidents. So if you happen to know these codes, you can just put them in yourself. If you don't know them, you can just click the box and select them just the same. Okay? So some fields in the basic area you can type in. Less frequently used pop-up boxes later on the module you can't type in because they're really obscure for different types of things. Okay, so now I'm going to complete my city code, county code, and I'm in Whatcom County. There's Bellingham. Click it. I'm going to hit save. There we go. Now basic 3 is now green lighted on the page because all required fields are completed on this page. That's good idea. Okay. I'm going to zoom out the screen just a little bit. There we go. That should be better. So now, red light, green lights on basic 3 has been done, and I'm going to hit next to move on. Now we're on page basic 4. I want to point out just one quick thing before I get on to basic 4, and that's the icons at the very top of the page. So pretend for a moment I'm going to click on basic 2 by clicking, I'm going to highlight it so everyone sees, clicking right here. That's basic 2. I can actually travel to basic 2 by clicking on the little green box underneath basic 2. So I'm going to click there, return to basic 2. And so now I can actually tinker with the requirements of the page dynamically. So I'm going to say patient care reports are required, and I'm going to hit save. And I'd like you to look up in the nav bar where the red light, green lights are, and you'll see a new icon pop up. So now we have a new one, EMS. It's a new icon that just came into existence because it's dynamic based on the content of the pages. So I'm going to go back again. I'm going to change my incident type to a 111. So there's a structure fire, and hit next. Whoa, we got all kinds of more things going on here. We got a whole bunch of additional icons at the top. We have a whole bunch of additional questions here. So the system will dynamically create additional pages and status them correctly, adding red light, green light, as you do the call. So this is important. So it defaults to the simplest report we think you can get away with, but we add additional requirements based on NFIRS and NEMSIS and state requirements and a CAD interface and medical billing, and whatever's configured on your account will all be wrapped into a single set of validation rules. So you just complete the fields, keep hitting next, and we'll figure it out for you. So those who have been using the system for a while have figured that out, but the new users are just coming on board may not realize that. So because today I need to go through kind of some other areas that maybe you don't get used very often, I'm going to say yes to a whole bunch of these things. We're going to have kind of a big, horrible call. So we're going to have civilian casualties. We're going to have people involved. I'm going to have equipment involved in ignition. I'm going to say the structure type is enclosed building. There was no detectors, no sprinklers, and it was an intentional, like an arson. So that'll give us a whole bunch of additional icons just to illustrate these other pages so you can see them. So now I'm going to hit next, and we have more icons that pop up. All right, so we're going to continue on. I'm going to go to basic 4 again, hit next. This page shows a list of all the different apparatus that are on the scene. And so I'm going to click the button that says Add Apparatus. And this is a list of the vehicles that are on the call. So I'm going to do one. I want to say engine 1. Lights and sirens are response mode. And I click the fill dates, 11/7/2003, and then I hit the fill date button, and it fills all the dates and times all the way down the page. And then I'm going to put in some additional times here myself. And I'm going to say we got en route to 0234. We arrived at 4. And we cleared the scene at 10:15. Very quick little call, in quarters at 10:25, and in service at 10:15. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to put in my crew. So I'm going to select a couple people and hit next, and that will save the apparatus. Notice on this page, now you can have an infinite number of apparatus, but notice at the moment we have a little mini green light just on engine 1. But you can have multiple apparatus. So you could have engine 1, engine 2, engine 3. Engine 1 could be correct, and engine 2 and 3 could be incorrect and be red. It just add as many apparatus as you want. Medic units, back chief, it doesn't matter, as many as you want. All right, so we're going to move on then. So just for the sake of time, we're going to move on. You can have as many apparatus as you want. I'm going to hit next. Notice up in the basic 1 through 4, and the red light, green light at the very top is now green. So we're slowly trucking through our call up here. Okay, next one. This is basic 5, just a few other things. Required fields, let's say 911 call, and let's say it was a burn. And we have an action taken, which I'll say search and hit next. All right, so that's it for basic 1 through 5. You'll see all those pages, basic 1 through 5 on every call. However, the other pages you see after that is pretty dynamic. It could be anything. So I'm just going to click, just pretty briefly, cruise through a couple of these other pages so you can see them. And then we'll move on to the EMS and narrative pages. So fire, we're in the fire module now. Fire, in this case, on this incident, has 3 pages. You can see that by the 3 different red boxes underneath the fire icon. And this is fire 1. Surprise, surprise, the first box is called fire 1. We have a series of required fields. Other information pertinent to the fire. I'm going to hit next, move on to fire 2, more required fields. I think you could probably surmise what's the story here is just required fields are red, and they show red on the nav bar. I'm going to jump over to the structure fire now by clicking on the first button underneath structure fire. Again, more pages of required fields, dynamically driven content based on what you put in previously. You may have the fire and structure fire icons. You may have only one of them. For example, if you have a wildland fire, you'll have only, I think, 2 of the fire pages instead of 3, and you will not see the structure fire icon. So it just depends on the content, the incident type, and the answers you put on before. Okay, the next one is arson. I'm going to get there by clicking on the arson icon. This puts me to arson 1. And arson is misnamed. It's called arson because that's what NFIRS calls it. But it's not a good name because really what it's actually saying is it's fire investigation. But that's what the feds call it. It's arson. So we're kind of stuck to it. So these are different questions pertinent to the investigation. And there's 4 pages related to arson questions. The next one is civilian casualties. I'm going to click on this one. Civilian casualties, you can have an infinite number of civilian casualties. So maybe you had 2 people were burned getting out of a building fire would give you 2 casualties. And also casualties, the first word you might think of, or the first thing you might think of when you hear casualties is a fatality. A fatality would certainly be a casualty, but a casualty, civilian casualty in NFIRS eyes is just an injury to a civilian of any kind. So it could be a burn, could be a fatality. So I'm just going to add one just so you can see. In this case, we have little 3 red light, green lights inside for 1 casualty, and we'll hit edit. And we'll just add a couple of simple questions about the casualty. So let's just say it's Bob Jones, and let's say he's 25 years old, and date of injury was today at, let's say it was 10/10. and it was a minor injury, let's just say. You can go through other information, cause of injury, other factors contributing, all NFIRS requirements on casualties, and other information about it. We'll get next. There we go. Bob Jones got 3 little pages completed about him. You can have other people as well. There is a similar page on fire service casualty that I'll talk about in just a little bit. Once I get through a few more pages, so we'll come back and take a look at. Okay, civilian casualty. Next one. We'll move on from there. EMS. Okay, EMS, we can have a whole training just on EMS, so I'm just going to briefly touch on it. EMS is available to customers who have purchased our EMS package, and EMS may or may not be required in your state, and EMS reporting may or may not be required in your state. So it depends on if we support EMS reporting in your state. It's kind of a big determining factor. We do not support EMS in all states. It's depending on the requirements the state has in place. So this is assuming we're supporting EMS in your state, and I'm still going to go through and show you just very quickly what it looks like. So there's a hyperlink that says click here to add a patient, and then click there. Now we have a similar questionnaire page as what we saw earlier, and this is patient specific. So imagine you have a car accident with 5 patients on board. Each patient has their own EMS report, and each patient has their own questionnaire. Because one patient may be severely injured and have large traumatic injury and have to get flown. However, the other patients might be just fine and require minor treatment only. So this is unique per patient. So I'm just going to go in and we'll say a few things. We'll say what happened to this patient. We'll say treated and transported. Condition code number. Hit the list box. And let's say minor burns. Here's the patient we treated. And now we have a whole series of questionnaire questions. I'm going to leave them no for now. And I'm going to hit next. Now notice in the top nav bar, we have a new mini nav bar inside the other nav bar called patient 1 of 1. So here is our one patient. Now maybe you have a simple EMS call and you have only one patient. That's fine. If you had a car accident with 5 patients, you have 5 patients up there available through the nav bar. And the one that you are on at the moment is the one that is a nav bar you would see. So this has very similar to the rest of the instant module, red light, green light at the very top, dynamically driven pages. So I'm going to turn on some of these other things. So I'm going to go back to the questionnaire. And I'm going to say yes to a whole bunch of this stuff. And whoa, doggy. Oh, I actually got the nav bar to wrap. That's pretty hard to do. All right, so you can see as you add additional icons, you can make just like you can have a really nasty incident, you can have a really nasty patient encounter with all kinds of other things pertinent to the patient. So I'm going to stop there on the patient area just because it's so big and there's so much there. But you can have that. We can have that as a whole other separate training just on the EMS area.
We're going to do EMS next week.
And Casey says, whispers over here that we're going to do EMS next week. Okay, terrific. So we just set that up. So back here on the EMS page, I just click on the EMS page. Now we have patient 1 of 1. I'm going to quickly add another one just so you can see what it'll look like. And we'll just do something else. Now I'm going to go back to the EMS page. Now we have 2 patients, patients 2 of 2. So you can have as many patients as you wanted on this page. And their security is handled separately for each one of them. That's the other things worth talking about, and we'll talk about it next week. I need to move on. Okay, so I'm going to hit next. So next in the nav bar is people involved. So people involved could be things like maybe a witness, maybe you had an arson and someone saw something. So you have a witness, and this is Sally Smith, and she saw something, and you can have her information. So you have a series of people involved. Maybe if it's a fire, maybe you'd have a building owner, right? It's the property owner. There's a building owner. And this is Sam Smith. I'm not being very creative today. Okay. So it's building Sam Smith. So you have an infinite number of people involved. Okay. Now, Before I move on to the narrative pages, I want to go back and just point out two other things. Okay. I want to create a hazmat incident. So I go back all the way to basic 1. I'm going to say hazmat release. I'm going to say special hazmat actions required or spill greater than 55 gallons. That will trigger hazmat. Okay, so now we see hazmat up there. I want to say we also had fire service casualties. And I'm going to turn off some of the other ones. Okay, and I'm going to hit next. Okay, terrific. So now we will see, a hazmat icon, and we see fire service casualties. Okay, and I turned off a couple others just to keep it a little shorter. So we're going to go jump into those pages real quick so you can look at them. So I go click on hazmat 1, or just click the hazmat icon. And now it gives me the hazmat 1. And so here is hazardous material information and all different things pertinent to the release. The equipment that's involved in the release, and other information pertinent to hazmat, including a fairly detailed chemical inventory of the different chemicals that were released. And I'm not going to click on it because it's a long, nasty list of chemicals. And the last one that we haven't talked about already is the casualties. This is fire service casualties. And just like civilian casualties, this again does not reference a fatality, although it could mean a fatality. This just means injuries or fatalities that are suffered against fire service personnel. So click here to add a casualty. You can have as many casualties as you need to. And so here's the first casualty. Just go through different things about them, their age, their gender, their name, and different things, what happened to them, the date of the injury, what happened to them, severity, symptoms. It gets quite particular in the next page. Talks about equipment failure. Did equipment failure contribute to the injury? So, for example, if an SCBA didn't work or the bunker gear failed in some way, they want to know, is that relevant? And so here's all the different things which happened and contributed to the injury. So fairly detailed inventory of what could happen on a fire service casualty. Thank goodness we don't have too many of these things, but if you do have someone injured in the line of duty, that's how you fill it out. Okay, there's one more page on wildland fires. I'm going to skip it in the interest of time, but if you put in a 140 series incident type, it will ask you a series of questions pertinent to wildland fires. So acreage involved, the type of involvement, and so forth. We're going to skip that today in the interest of time, but it would be a similar icon at the top of wildland fires. Okay, so now I'm going to jump to the narrative pages at the top. And so on the narrative page, this is a list of the actual narrative of what happened on the scene. So a couple things to keep track of. All the things we filled out up until this point have been generic information. It's not generic, that's the wrong word. Classified information per the NFIRS or NEMSIS standard. Okay, these are national standards that are put in. But the narrative is where you actually just sit down and write what actually happened on the scene. And it's important to have a good quality narrative, because if you were to ever be called into court or have to defend yourself in some kind of liability case, you need to provide a series of checkboxes that you completed in the NFIRS report. Although helpful, it's not really going to help you as much as a nice solid narrative. So the narrative could be something like dispatched to a report of a room and contents. Whoa, look at that. Okay, so someone is on this narrative at the same time. So we'll try to explain what just happened there. So I'm typing my narrative, and at some point someone had clicked in the same narrative as I was on, and that triggered a narrative conflict warning, which just popped up. I cleared it. I shouldn't have cleared it. I should have talked about it. So that warning is just to tell us that, hey, someone else is on the narrative at the time. You don't generally see this too often unless you're both on it, we have had several bugs on this narrative page, which are, I believe, fully resolved, but that's a conflict warning on the narrative page you may occasionally get. So that's a warning that someone's been on this page. So actually I'm going to stop, and there it is. Yeah, lost my narrative. Okay, well, that's a demo, the demons of demos. Anyways, I'm going to stop spelling, or stop checking. Yeah, okay, sorry about that, folks. Should have had a better narrative experience. So you do your narrative here. Also, this is the incident narrative. The EMS narrative, particular to the individual patient, is separate from this. So in our car accident example with 5 patients, it would be expected that each person who did patient care would have a unique narrative for the patient, and then the incident commander would have an overall narrative for the incident that did not contain patient information on the incident narrative. That's our recommendation. Okay, moving on to the files page. This is where you can upload files, and so this could be anything. It could be a JPEG. So I'll find some pictures here. So I'll just pick a picture or two. I'm uploading it right now. Hit OK. And if it's an image, it will give a thumbnail of the image. If it's not an image, for example, maybe it's some kind of document out of a defibrillator, or it's some other special file. Maybe it's a Word document from Microsoft Word, like a witness statement. It would just display an icon instead. However, if we can thumbnail it, we'll try to thumbnail it as well. So you can have as many files attached electronically to the incident as you'd like. Now, I'm going to click the next button. And this is the password page. This is the authorized page. And the system, not surprisingly, has determined that there is a series of errors with my incident report. And so if I look at this, I go, oh boy, where do I even start? Well, there's a couple ways you can deal with this. You can click, sorry, getting my highlighter squared away. You can click on the individual red buttons at the top of the nav bar, and that will take you to the appropriate pages to resolve the errors. You can also click any of these hyperlinks here on the page, and that will take you to the appropriate page. It doesn't matter. It will take you either one. So I'm going to go and I'm going to go and try to minimize many of these as I can to actually complete the incident so you can see. So I'm going to start saying no to a lot of this stuff. Now I'm going to hit save. So that's good. A whole bunch of icons went away. When we go back to basic 1, I'm going to take away the hazmat option, and that hazmat will go away. And then okay, and then I'm going to change my incident type from 111 to 321, and then next. Well, voila, maybe all my red buttons go away, just like that. So now, when I go to the authorized page, the system says, oh yes, you're complete. You've passed all the validation, and it gives me the password box. And if I was a supervisor, which I guess I am not, and the person I'm logged in right now, I would see another box at the bottom here, under the review pane, right there. It would allow me to review the call at the same time. I don't have that, so I'm just going to complete the call, and we'll get to the complete level. Okay, it says your information has been verified. So now I go back to the incident page. Notice I have a bunch of green highlighted, or green padlocks, but I have this new one, a yellow padlock, which has been locked. And so that represents the intermediate level of a call. So the intent behind these different padlocks is that regular firefighters or submitters would be completing the incidents, and then a fire chief or some kind of supervisor would then review the incident, put his password in, and then it becomes a green padlock, so it's been locked. Okay, let's see what else we got left here with viewing. Oh yes, print page. That's kind of important. So let's talk about the print page. So the print page is important. When you click on the incident, you get an option here, a little print modal box right here that says print. And this is valuable for a number of different reasons. One is it's the simplest, fastest way to get everything that happened on the incident out in one shot. So this could be maybe the chief comes in on a Monday and he wants to look at the calls that happened on the weekend. There's a very quick way just to click the print page, fill out the information, and hit print. And this is everything that is pertinent about that call, including thumbnails of the images, information from the input, narrative, if I bother to put a narrative in, people that are on the call, everything is included. So this is a very quick way to see just what happened very quickly without having to dig and browse on each individual call. And then from this page, you just print it by clicking print from your browser. That's the print page. So quite useful. And again, this print page is dynamic. So if you have a big, long, nasty incident with civilian casualties and fire service casualties and hazmat and structure fires and everything else, your print page will be a lot longer. And if you had a short little incident like I just have here, your print page is a lot shorter. Okay, I want to show how to export data really quick, because this is a key thing that people need to understand how to do. So I'm going to click the Home button, and then scroll down to the very bottom, click Administration. So you have to be an administrator to be able to do this action. And on the left-hand side, there's a whole box here dedicated to exports. And these exports, this is all the machinery of how to export data out of the account. And depending on how your account is configured, there could be 3 or even 4 different types of exports. You could have an NFIRS export to the state or to FEMA. You could have a NEMSIS export to your state. You could have a medical billing export. You could have a couple other different types of exports. So they're all administered from this one spot right here. So I'm going to click on the NFIRS export, because that's a big one. This is NFIRS 5.1 export. Now, what you see here is a list of all the different months that can be exported for the account. I'll try to explain these different things as best I can. So what we have, excuse me, erase, there we go. What we have here is several columns. We have a column that says not yet reviewed. That is a list of calls that are not yet reviewed for the month. And this, when checked, will prevent you from doing any exports until the call has, or the month has been, all the calls from the given month has been completely completed and reviewed. So if you'll notice, on this page, this month, October 2013, cannot yet be exported because there is one call not yet reviewed. That's one we just put in. So the radio button, as this button is on the far left side, that radio button cannot be selected yet. Now notice the skip 2 rows down to August 2013. This row says there are no calls that need to be exported. There are no calls that need to be reviewed. And there's one call that has already been exported. So because of that, again, this radio button is dimmed out. There's no way to export that month because everything has already been exported. If I look, fortunately, I don't have a good example to show. I'm sorry about that. What you see here, in some cases, you see like July 2013, it's all goose eggs all the way across. 0 exported, 0 to be exported, 0 not yet reviewed. So when we see that, we assume that to mean a no activity report. Those are really unusual. We don't have many of those, but because this particular account is configured that way, we don't have any calls, you could see a no activity report. If you had a month that was all the calls were complete and reviewed and ready to be exported, the radio button would be illuminated, like you see here. And then at the bottom, there'd be a button that says export. And in this case, it's configured to go to j@emergencyreporting.com. So by just clicking this button, export, the file would be generated and it would be sent off. the important thing that we really want everyone to understand is that this process is not automatic. You need to come in here and export the data once all of the calls have been complete and reviewed for the month, or occasionally complete and reviewed for the quarter. There are several states that want data by the quarter, most notably California, but I think South Carolina and a couple others want the data by the quarter. And we already configured that for you. So you just hit this page. We'll show it by the quarter or show it by the month. And once your data has been complete and reviewed, you can then click the appropriate button and it will export and send it off. Okay, so that's it for my CAN presentation. I have just a few minutes, about 10 minutes, so we can talk about a couple other things. I'd like to talk briefly, actually, excuse me, I'm going to be back in just about 20 seconds. Hold on. Okay, everybody. I'm going to unmute the session, so you should be able to ask questions verbally if you have a microphone. And, okay, I'm not sure if that's working or not.
Muted.
Upstairs.
On the photograph. Yeah.
Unmuted.
Okay. Now, after you complete a call, on the daybook page at the very bottom here, you will see the log entry will automatically be made into the daily log for that station. Okay? So this is nice, so you don't have to input the call and then turn around and input it into the log. You put it in the call, the system will automatically enter it into the log for you. Okay? And you can add additional items by clicking Add to Log. So we're not talking about daybook. We're not talking about daybook today, but just that's how that data punches into the daybook log. Then I want to talk about advanced search just a little bit because that's a pretty powerful tool to try to get information out of the system. It's worth talking about since we have a minute here. So I'm going to go to Incidents, and on the left-hand side, on the third tab, we will see a button, or a correction, a tab titled Advanced Search, right up there. So we're going to click into that, and the page asks a whole bunch of different questions. And if you were a supervisor, you get a couple extra questions, about another 5 or 6 questions, I believe. But this particular user I'm logged in as doesn't have it, which is fine because it'll just illustrate some of the things you can search on. So these are different options on how we can search on data. So, for example, I want to find all the calls in a particular zone. All the calls are in Station 2's area, and it's search. This returns all the calls. And also, I want to point out, it's really hard to see this, but it's very powerful. At the very top, if we go up here, it says right there, it says 11 results found. Okay? So that's pretty powerful. So you can use this to try to figure out how often something is happening or a call is occurring in a particular zone or a particular incident or something like that. So we can string together additional search criteria. So previously I did station 2. Now maybe I also want to do a date range. So let's do 01/01 of 2000, let's say 10, through today. Okay, so now these are both criteria. These are AND statements between the two of them. This date range and this zone is search. Okay, I'll get 9 results. So I've tightened my search criteria, but I can keep going. I can just keep tightening this thing down. So I want to see all of, let's say, the fires, 100 series fires. 100 through 173, it's search. Down to 3 incidents. Okay, that's good. And I want to find everything, all the fires for station 2 that are, say, maybe on Cornwall Avenue. So under incident address, on the street name, I'm going to say Cornwall. And that's all I'm going to put is Cornwall. I'm not going to put street type. I'm not going to put city state. Just the name, Cornwall, and it's search. Okay. 1 incident came back that met all those criteria. So there's a lot of powerful things on this advanced search page that you can string together to ask all kinds of different questions. So we have complete, incomplete, reviewed. You can do apparatus, station, shift, dispatch number, incident type single, incident type range, people involved, cause of ignition. So you can start searching for arsons, property losses, occupancy, missing lat long. And if you're a supervisor, you get a series of other ones. You get some things, people or like the department personnel involved, EMS searches of people, date of birth and social security numbers and other stuff. So it's quite a powerful search page, and it can generate, help you in researching problems or whatever you're trying to hunt down. Okay, one more. Let's take a look here. One more thing I want to point out. Again, this is not, we're not talking about Google Maps, but it's relevant to the module. If you have Google Maps enabled, you'll see an icon at the very top here. It's a switch to map view. And you can actually switch to map view in conjunction with your search page results. So you can now list all these different calls geographically on the map with your search criteria. So if you're searching for just fires that are arson, for example, you could show those geographically on the map if you have Google Maps enabled. And we will place the calls for you automatically on the maps. So all you have to do is put in the call, and we'll figure out geographically the lat long and place it on the map for you if you have Google Maps enabled. So there's one more thing I'm just going to verbally discuss. I'm not going to put it on here. There is, for volunteer and combination departments generally, there is an option. You can have payroll integrated into the call as well. So you collect payroll by hours or payroll by points and put it right on the incident module at the same time, and it gets its own little spot in the nav bar. So that is really powerful for volunteer departments that compensate by hour or by points. So you can collect that information right there on as part of the nav bar. It's quite powerful, but we're pretty much out of time, so I'm going to stop about talking about payroll, but we can talk about that some other time. Okay, so I want to browse. We're right at just about noon. I want to look at the questions here. Is there any questions that we can answer? Does anyone have any questions? Please go ahead and ask them, and I'll see if I can answer them here in the next minute. You know, since I don't see any unanswered questions, I'm going to talk about custom questions really quick. So if you go into administration, on the left-hand side, there is 2 other things I want to talk about very quickly here. Required fields and user-defined fields, left-hand side. So if we go here, this is, here we go, required fields. These are fields that can be added and made optionally required based on your needs. And so in some cases, you may want some of these fields required, but it's not required per NFIRS or per NFIRS. So you have the capability to click in here and actually make these key fields required. So a common one make required is zone. That's not actually an NFIRS field, but it's widely used in the fire service, so you can make it required. You can also, at the very bottom here, say include custom fields page and hit save. Now, when I go back to administration, I just enabled it. It says user defined fields. I click here and we can have, these are fields that we have asked. These are not NFIRS and these are not NFIRS fields nor are they NFIRS fields. These are questions that we want to ask. And it's whatever they want to use. So I'm going to, you can even make them required if you want to. So let's see here. Did the patient refuse care? That's a good one. So we have a couple different questions or answers. Did the patient refuse care? Yes, no, not applicable. And in this case, it's required. It is not required. So this one is archived. So I'm going to archive it, and now I can edit that field. So there we go. Here's my question. So did the patient refuse care? I can control what order that is question is asked. I can make it required. You can choose it, or you can type it in. And there we go. So that's how we can ask our own questions, even make them required in our module if we want to. So that's really pretty nifty. If you have other stuff you want to collect, but it's not part of NFIRS or NFIRS, but it's still important for you to collect. So that's how you can do custom fields, and you can make some optional fields otherwise required. Okay. So I think we're about done here. We're out of time. So if there's any other questions, I'll try to stick around for a few more minutes. If you're interested in learning more about training, you can contact Casey, C-A-S-E-Y, at emergencyreporting.com. She can set you up with additional training. If you have more routine questions on the system, you can look at feedback.emergencyreporting.com to look at the different feedback options we have there, user voice, and click on options, as well as look at some existing support resources. And we have the knowledge base on user voice at feedback.emergencyreporting.com. And we also have, there we go. First time doing this for a while, so I'm getting used to everything again. There's our information, and you can also email support@emergencyreporting.com, or you can call us on a telephone or a toll-free number on our website for support assistance as well. So lots of options to get you guys trained. So thank you very much for attending our training. Hopefully it was useful for you, and I'll try to stick around here for just a couple more minutes if anyone has any more questions. Thank you.